Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here today. Today we're going to talk about how nuclear beyond energy, how nuclear technology contributes beyond the grid. Today we have three amazing panelists today. To my left, we're going to start with Robert Kyoto. Please, I'm going to give you 1 minute each to introduce yourself. We have Abubakar Sadiq, and we have Umar Ahmad. So please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Robert Kiptoo. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm currently pursuing my master's in nuclear engineering, and I'm glad and excited to be here talking about nuclear energy, about nuclear beyond energy, or rather beyond the grid. Looking forward to having an interesting conversation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Abubakar Sadiq Aliyu from Nigeria. I work with the Center for Renewable Energy and Sustainability Transitions, and then also an active member of the African Young Generation in Nuclear. I'm happy to be here to discuss issues of nuclear energy beyond the grid. Looking forward to a nice discussion. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Umar Ahmad, a research fellow at Center for Renewable Energy and Sustainability Transitions in Bayero University, Kano, and also active member of Africa Young Generations in Nuclear. I'll look forward to having an interactive session.
All right, thank you all for being here. So let's just start. So the first question for you, all of you, is, can you share a case study or example that demonstrate how nuclear technology has innovatively transformed in a specific industrial process or anything that is beyond the grid applications?
Yeah, that's a really good question because many people, when you talk to them about nuclear, first thing that will come up on their mind is nuclear weapons. Others who have maybe researched about it, they'll tend to know nuclear energy bit of it. So the other applications are a bit not known out there. So a good case study of where nuclear energy has played a role in, where I come from, especially in Kenya, is in the nuclear medicine field rather than the medical field. So in Kenya, we have this soaring number of cases, cancer cases. I don't know the reason behind it, but it's been soaring over the last couple of years. And this is where nuclear medicine has played a huge part, a huge role into it. So nuclear, it can play a role in diagnosis part, which is very important for the treatment part. And also it can play a role in the treatment part, and as well maybe in the sterilization part, which is basically ensuring that the instruments that are being used are in good condition. So in my country, we have these nuclear medicine facilities coming up, and this is one of the major applications of nuclear in my country, because at the moment we don't have the nuclear energy capacity. So in terms of the diagnosis part, nuclear can play a role in, there are these radioisotopes where you inject a patient into it. You inject, it can be injected, it can be ingested, it can be done in many roles, and you can be able to trace maybe the blood flow, and you can be able to maybe know where maybe the cancer is inside the body. And on the treatment part, nuclear energy through maybe processes such as the brachytherapy, which is the internal therapy, using radiation to kill the cancer cells, can play a role. Also in the external bit, which is external radiotherapy, which is commonly used in killing the cancer cells, it can still play a role. And also in the sterilization part, which I earlier mentioned, it still plays a crucial role in terms of applications of nuclear energy, of nuclear medical field.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't know the sterilization and the traces that you get. Diagnosis also is very important. What about you?
Thank you very much. Luckily enough, I come from the northern part of Nigeria, where more than 70% of the jobs there are related to farming one way or the other. But unfortunately, most people don't know the application of nuclear science and technology in agriculture. Nuclear science plays a very important role in the modern agriculture. For example, when you look at the characterization of the soil itself, in that technique, we can use the nutrient activation analysis to characterize the soil for you to know the exact minerals that are contained in the soil. That means you will know the exact amount of fertilizer to use. You will not waste much fertilizers, and you put them in exact proportion. I had an interview for someone who followed that method in Nigeria. He said he got, I think, 100 bags of maize on 1 hectare because he realized the exact proportion of minerals he needs on that soil. I think another aspect where nuclear techniques play a part in agriculture is the food irradiation. In my state, we farm a lot of tomatoes, but then the farmers end up at loss because you farm them and you're not able to refrigerate them because you don't have access to electricity. So you can irradiate those fruits, and then it gives them longer life because you are going to kill the bacteria in those products. And then it gives you chance to also export them to very far distances. For example, we get apples from South Africa, strawberries, and what have you. All those are irradiated products. Another thing is insect control. In Ghana, I think in 2021, they had these issues of pesticide eating most of their products. So what they did is they sample the female insects, and then they sterilized the eggs. So which means the next generation of the insect will not be able to produce. Then you terminate them from there. So this and other applications are some of the good things nuclear technology can do for us in the field of agriculture.
Great.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Before I left for this conference, I went to my dad to say bye, that I'm traveling. He was like surprised. Okay, Umar, tell me, beyond bomb and electricity, what does this nuclear you are advocating for works for? So I now had to sit down and start from the beginning. After discussing the medical aspects, the agricultural aspects, here comes the fun fact. My dad is a fan of history. He loves history so much. I was like, okay, do you know that 3 months ago, Jordanian archaeologists found a mat which belongs to a prophet that dated almost 3,000 years. He said, oh wow, but how did they know that this is 3,000 years old? I told him that is nuclear science also. So we can do carbon dating to look for history and also learn about our past. Because there is a saying, he who does not learn about his past will not achieve in the long journey ahead. So I think my dad was so happy to learn that, especially coming from Kano State of Nigeria, where a lot of our historical artifacts have been lost, a lot have been hidden. So I think nuclear science and nuclear science and technology can play part in historical development. Also, I talked to him about the security. I know majority of us used to pass through the gates as we are coming in. So those security checkups we are having while we put our bags on that router to move on. So nuclear science also play a role in addressing security, because they will be able to trace all you have in your bags and as you pass through. Thank you.
And I think one aspect of contributions of nuclear techniques in agriculture I forgot to mention is mutation. Nowadays you see fruits in different sizes, taste, and what have you. This is also a wonderful job of nuclear science and techniques. With that technique, you'll be able to adjust or play with the DNA of the fruits or whatever seed is in question, for you to have the desired taste of what you want, whether the color or the shape or the size.
Yeah. I think one fun fact for our audience is that the food that gets irradiated has a stamp that is called Radura. I don't know if you guys probably know about this, but Radura means that is the certification to say that the food or vegetables were radiated to take away the leftovers of the pesticides, if I'm not mistaken. So I still want to try a Radura fruit or vegetable, so I'm pretty sure it tastes delicious. Also, I was at the Louvre last year, and I can tell the benefit. One of the benefits of nuclear was to how do you recognize these hidden paints? You know, there were multiple, and they describe in there in detail how we can use radiation to uncover those paintings. All right, so I'm going to share a fun fact that I thought it was worth sharing. So the first practical application of radioisotopes was made by the Hungarian man named George de Hevesi in 1911. At the time, de Hevesi was a young student working in Manchester, studying natural radioactive materials. Not having much money, he lived in a modest accommodation and ate his meals from his landlady. He began to suspect that some of the meals that appear regularly might be have from leftovers from the preceding days or even weeks, but he could never be sure. To try to confirm his suspicions, the Vehesi put a small amount of radioactive material into the remains of a meal. Several days later, when the same dish was served again, he used a simpler radiation detection instrument to check if the food was radioactive, and it was. So there you have it. That's how we start using radioisotopes. All right, so let's continue with the questions. In your opinion, what are the key challenges and opportunities for nuclear technology to expand its contributions beyond greed?
That's a really good question. I think one of the key challenges that we are facing in the nuclear field is the perception people have towards nuclear. And this is where advocating comes in. So the issue of trying to create awareness, trying to educate people on the importance of nuclear beyond what they think of. Yeah, because in my country, I think what's need to be, I'll talk in the case of building a nuclear power plant. So we're in the process of site searching, where we're trying to find the ideal location for a nuclear power plant. And when one site was identified, there was some resistance among the community living around that. We don't want this thing. It's not good for us. So they really don't know the importance of it. They don't know really what the impact it will have in their society in the coming years. So one of the key challenges you are facing the nuclear industry as of now is the nuclear advocacy, and that's what we youth are currently doing. We're trying to create awareness, trying to go to those rural places and educating them, telling them more about nuclear energy, because if they get to know about nuclear, I think they'll be open to having these ideas of building the plants near them, building hospitals near them, which in the end process it will be more beneficial to them. Yeah, so I think one of the key challenges, I'd say, is the perception people have towards nuclear.
All right.
Yeah, in relation to that, I think another key challenge is public awareness with respect to these technologies. Will you imagine somebody farming thousand baskets of tomatoes, and he doesn't know that he can use this technology to store his tomatoes for the next longer time for him to use them. So I think we in the science zone need to come out of our shell, try as much as possible to explain to these people who need this technology, and let them understand that these technologies are less harmful. Another thing is the research and development. It seems in the nuclear industry, everyone tends to tilt his attention towards the power application. Much less attention is being given to these other areas, of which their benefit to humanity is as equal as power access. We are talking about food, we are talking about health, we are talking about security. So I think they are also as important as electricity access. So I think the research and development society or community needs to give more attention also to the research and development. I think one of the things we do in order to boost that was the Africa for Nuclear competition. We try as much as possible to have young people compete in the area of innovating ideas using these techniques to solve problems they identify in their localities. And the last one we had was in Kenya during the African Youth Nuclear Summit. And I think a lady from South Africa with her team won. they produce, I think, a van which could be used for transporting vegetables, and then the products are being irradiated in the bus, so they can take they can travel for longer distance without the products being decayed. To me, that was a very, very important innovation. We also had other innovations from Nigeria, from Cameroon, from Egypt, and what have you. So finally, I would like to make a plea to the Research Development Committee to please pay attention to this aspect, and I think it will be very important if we do that.
Yes, for my own case, I think that accessibility to this equipment that will enable the non-power application is key. So, for example, where I come from, Nigeria, at our center, we try to procure, I think, a high purity germanium detector, which can be able to do all this stuff. But in the end, it took us almost 2 to 3 years for us to get it shipped from the United States to Nigeria. The first place, we were asked that, okay, no one can procure a high purity germanium detector until you are licensed by the International Atomic Energy Agency, and that took more than 1.5 years looking for someone that is licensed in Nigeria or in Africa to bring that. So I think if these restrictions can be relaxed somehow to enable fast tracking of this equipment to be transferred to people from the global south, it will increase the number of applications of non-power applications in countries that are trying to develop their industrialization.
Yeah, to increase on that, the issue, the question of access is very, very important. Now, when you look at the whole of West Africa, access to medical applications of nuclear technology is extremely limited. In Nigeria, I think you have 2 or 3 centers with a population of over 250 million. Now, how do you expect that to have impact on the population? So, just like he said, access is very, very important. So, access to these facilities should be increased, and we shouldn't rely only on government, like I always say. It will be very difficult for the government, especially the ones we have, no offense, to be able to provide these things. So we should venture into the private sector. Sometimes we don't make these people understand that these things will bring money to them. Could you imagine if you have a center, a medical imaging center, which diagnosis and treatment are being made? A lot of people will come there in a day. Imagine the amount of millions you have. People will have to travel from Kano to Lagos via planes, pay for hotels, stay there for the required time for their treatment. Now imagine if you bring it closer to them, you can even make the costs more than what they can encounter there. But then, since it's closer to them, there will be less difficulties, and I think it will be very, very beneficial to people. In Kenya, I think they did very well in Nairobi. They have a government imaging center. I was there in October. Very, very up to date and what have you. They have CyberKnife, and which is the latest one, and they also have a private one, where if you feel you have the money, you can't wait for the public, then you can go to the private one. And interestingly, the government insurance, health insurance in Kenya covers for that aspect of a treatment, unlike places like Ghana, where the insurance doesn't cover treatments like this, only basic health challenges. So I think access is very, very important.
Yeah, I think you both mentioned a really important point, which is accessibility and the logistics part of it, which is something that people don't see, right? They require service immediate. That's why they are there when it comes to health, for example. So how or what we can do to help or to try to shorten or build a bridge in between the service provider and the government. Do anybody wants to start?
That's a really good question, the question about accessibility, because in Kenya, it's a small country, but in our aspects, it's a really big country compared to other smaller countries, but in relative to maybe a country like USA, we're like a state in the USA. But in Kenya, the concentration of these hospitals with the equipments, they are fairly in the urban centers. So there's the aspect of bringing these centers to the rural areas which brings about the accessibility feature. So what I think what the government needs to do, in Kenya we have this system of county governments where the government services have been localized to smaller counties within the country, which are called counties. So this aspect has really improved the healthcare services because the government services are being brought to the public, to the communities down there. So I think the government of Kenya is doing a really good thing in the health sector, but I think more needs to be done. More funding needs to be allocated to these county governments, which I earlier said. And in the last 10 years, this system of government was implemented around, we are heading to around 15 years, and we have actually seen the importance of it, and more needs to be done in terms of funding, because we need this, they come at a price, the cost of these equipments. And so I think in the near future, I'd like to see the government, bringing more funds into the county governments and dedicating more funds in the health sector.
I would like to add one thing. I think another point is to have a flow of information. For example, when you look at the time we arrived in the UAE, the moment you collect your badge, even without the metro card, the moment you show your badge at any metro station, they will say, okay, now you pass. So I think something we lack in our country is flow of information. For example, if you are going to procure, let's say, an equipment, you need to follow through the Nigerian Atomic Energy Commission, NNRA. So I think if that chain of information is going to flow and be fast-tracking, I think a lot will be done in having people to get reach of this equipment. That's my own point.
Anything to add? No? All right. So another fun fact, I want to mention the main isotope suppliers in the world, and they are Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals from Ireland, MDS Nordion from Canada, IRE from Europe, NTP from South Africa. Do you guys know that? Oh, great.
South Africa is one of the countries producing radioisotopes for medical purposes. They are top in the list in terms of radioisotope production.
Isotope NEAR from Russia and ANSTO from Australia. All right, so next question will be like, how can collaborations between industries, research institutions, and government can help the utilization of nuclear technology for a more broader societal advancement? Yeah,
so the aspect of nuclear education is very, very important. Actually, some of us are here because of nuclear advocacy, thanks to the ENEC, the body in charge of the nuclear power plant here, and WNA, World Nuclear Association. So I think the industries, they do understand the importance of nuclear advocacy. So going forward, I think more attention needs to be focused on the education part, trying to create the awareness to these people, trying to tell them that even though we are considering renewables, we need to have like a diverse energy mix. So bringing in nuclear towards this conversation, which if you compare to the other renewable sources, we actually tick all the boxes in terms of clean, in terms of reliable, in terms of baseload capacity. So I think moving forward, I think more needs to be done in the nuclear advocacy part in countries like Denmark, where nuclear power plants, it's illegal to build a nuclear plant. So with this advocacy moving forward, we have the likes of our friends like Johns and Jens, who are doing a really good in terms of trying to reach out to politicians, trying to change the perception that the government has towards nuclear. So I think if more is done in the education, but the nuclear education, but I think moving forward, I think we'll have a streamlined industry in terms of nuclear.
Yeah, thank you very much. Research and development. I like talking about research and development because I'm from the research sphere. Now, I think collaboration is key because without collaboration, you cannot be able to have the exact result you need in order to impact on the population. Now, the research industry, the research sphere and the industrial sphere, I think mostly in our countries, they are in parallel. They're not moving, can I say, with the same frequency. You find out that the research institutes are working on so problems differently, while the industries are producing something differently. So the research institute need to understand that it should work on real-time problems that are affecting the society, and they should be doing that hands in hands with the industry, because that's only when we'll be able to provide solutions that will solve problems in the industry. And the government should also, try as much as possible, to come in terms of funding, in terms of regulations, in terms of policy making, and what have you. I think if we do this, we can be able to foster a collaboration that will be able to solve challenges in our societies.
What I would like to add on top of what he said is trust in every institution. So what we lack in Africa, for example, sorry to say, we lack trust in our institutions. For example, you will see, for example, we are having Dangote building the biggest refinery fleet in the world, but he depends on other countries' expertise to let's say, to provide him with solutions other than home-based institutions. And that may be lack of trust because there are no equipment, maybe there are no funding in the universities, or the policies are not there. So if to say these policies by the government are there and the funding for the institutions are there, probably Dangote would say, okay, I trust this, they can deliver. So I will now move back to our nations for research output. That's what I wanted to add.
Yeah. So do you think how we can build support, especially from governments? You mentioned, I think, education. I don't remember ever mentioning it to me while I was in the school or high school, even middle school or anything before university, that you can get cured from cancer from radioisotopes, or food applications in agriculture, or even in space, which is important. It's there, it's just we don't know, and nobody even mentioned it in the school. So do you think we need a school reform that needs to be done, or what is specifically it needs to be changed when it comes to education?
Yeah, so I think it all begins with the government, because government, they tend to bring up these policies, and so it's a collaboration between the government and the higher learning institutions. Because in my country, then I'm saying it for the case for my country, so that not so many courses in the university which are dedicated to nuclear and to nuclear courses, and that's the reason why I went abroad to study nuclear engineering, because you can't really find a course in our universities which are really dedicated to nuclear. Because so I think it's a matter of the government providing the facilities to the university, and maybe the universities now telling the government that we need this and this. So it's just a matter of collaboration between the government, which I think will produce the funding to the learning institutions, and also it's a matter of the learning institutions collaborating with the government and other maybe learning institutions worldwide, which are preferably offering these nuclear courses, and maybe they can try and exchange some information regarding the nuclear. So it's just a matter of having good collaborations between these nuclear players within the country.
Yeah, collaboration. Collaboration with other institutes, of course, that are based probably outside the African sphere. And then importantly, international cooperations, the like of IAEA, the likes of WNA, and what have you. And I think sometimes, maybe because we are used to the fact that the government is not going to do what we like, or the government are not doing what we want, we just relaxed. I think it's a matter of trial and error. I think most researchers have given up on the government already, which is not supposed to be so. We should try as much as possible to frame what we want, and then meet these politicians time without numbers. Even if it fails for the first time, second time, third time, it might work in the fourth time. So we shouldn't give on the government. Try as much as possible to make them understand the impact of these things on the society. And sometimes we make this mistake. The government everywhere wants money. So you can frame this in form of a business and present it to them. They will invest. But when you keep coming to them as a form of you want them to venture into these things because you want to help the society, most governments, that's not what matters to them. But when you show them that these things are real-time investments, because we have this problem on ground, agricultural issues, medical issues, a lot, they are there. So if it can come from the business angle, I think they will venture into those kind of things. And then the research institute also need to update its curriculum. We've been using, in most of our universities, we've been using the same curriculum for decades. I think the curriculum need to go hand in hand with what is happening in the society. There are courses that are outdated because they are no longer relevant. You replace them with what is happening in the society because you want to solve challenges. I've said it sometimes on this panel that universities are like a simulation of this larger society. That is where you simulate problems to see if you can export them to the larger society. Now, if the university is not reflecting what is happening in the larger society, then there's a big problem.
Yeah, I would like to add that sometimes we need to be catch them young is better, because I can remember what happened in Jamaica with Breakthrough. At least it's something really wonderful. Sometimes outside school stuff, people tend to appreciate knowledge and see, okay, there is a beauty in this, so I will have to take a career in this path. So what happened in Jamaica, there was a boot camp, and there were young people at the boot camp. They have been talked about nuclear, various aspects of application, and think that is the best way to go. Then after that, maybe in the university aspect, just like he made mention, that you need to tilt the curriculum towards what is happening now. For example, before, let's say, we are having larger reactors, so thinking of something small, since from the university days, is going to be good, so that people will now be thinking, okay, the moment I go out of university to the industry, I will now start thinking of something small that will reduce the time of construction, for example, maybe increase accessibility, less proliferation on it, and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, now that you mentioned proliferation, so would you consider that security for a nation, will that be part of nuclear beyond energy? National security, I'm talking about. If you guys don't want to touch on, it's okay, but...
Well, this is COP. We are talking about climate change, yeah? So we don't want to venture into other things, I think.
It's okay, and I totally understand it, but I thought it was worth asking. All right, so this will be the final question before we go to the audience. How can we contribute as advocates to inform the public about the benefits of nuclear technology?
Come again, sorry?
How can we contribute as advocates to inform the public about the benefits of nuclear technology beyond the grid?
Yeah, so the thing about nuclear advocacy is it's really a big thing in nuclear space, especially at the moment that we are in now. We are trying to move to a cleaner future. So the idea of trying to educate people is very important, because the first thing, when you're trying to build maybe a big project, you have to include the public into it. And if the public don't agree, you can't really move forward. For example, in a case I was moving to, I earlier mentioned about Denmark. So Denmark, they're in this space where they're trying to convince their politicians, because they've already tried to convince the public that nuclear is good. So they're in the process of trying to convince the politicians. And so this just reinstates the importance of nuclear advocacy. So in the space that we're in now, that we're trying to move to the big step, we need to lay the foundation well. And the foundation entails, the public being aware of what nuclear the nuclear entails. So I think the aspect of nuclear advocacy is very important, and we as youth, it's up to us to move this agenda of educating people and creating awareness. The knowledge that we have, we need to share it among the the people who really don't have this information. Yeah, and so I think with collaborations with industries in this, the big industry, let's say maybe IAEA, World Nuclear Associations, the well-established industries, I think with closer collaborations with them, I think we can move this, the aspect of nuclear advocacy here. So.
Yeah, I think when you talk of advocacy, we've done it and it has worked for us. We've done it with the aspect of nuclear power, and we've seen the progress so far. Currently, we have so many countries showing interest, embarking, signing deals for nuclear power. So if we can use that same energy on these other applications of nuclear science and technology, I think it's going to work for us. And then another thing is we should localize advocacy. Look at your society and then try as much as possible to come down to their level, even if it means speaking in their local dialects for them to understand the applications of those things. Let's not continue to do advocacy at the global stage. Yeah, it's a good thing to do that, but then as individuals, we should try as much as possible to come down to the local level of our societies.
Yeah, to add on that, we just met one mechanical engineer on our way here with minor in nuclear engineering. So he was like, he don't like the aspect of nuclear engineering because it's so boring, and he don't like to imagine things. He can't imagine a uranium coming and hit, neutron coming and hit uranium-235. He can't imagine it. So he wants something that he can visualize. That is why he likes heat pumps, condenser, stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I think this is something worth telling here. So as when talking about the applications of nuclear science and technology, we should try to send the message to be effective in communication, one, and to also make people see, to visualize, not to imagine. Because the moment you said you're a neutron hitting a U-235, they were like, what is this? What do you want me to imagine? So let's try to come to people's level, try to make them visualize, see it in their day-to-day lives. I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, I think like this specific conference is for climate change, right? But I think in every conference or even in our everyday life, we need to communicate the benefits of nuclear. Like, I'm grateful enough that I travel a lot. So in my travels, I tend to speak people about, you know, it's not just great for clean energy, but it's also great for this, and this. I don't think we haven't talked about desalination or hydrogen production. How do you see, and this is the final question that just came to mind, from here to 10 years, what innovations do you see being established around the world?
Yeah, so a good example is a country like UAE. So they have these huge water bodies, but they're not that clean for consumption. So they need to maybe treat them, and the desalination process entails huge consumption of energy, and with this you need us to have a steady supply of energy. And if you look at the other renewables, like maybe the solar, the wind, and we're also trying to look at a perspective where we are trying to provide clean energy. So if you look in the aspects of other renewable sources like wind and solar, they're not that dependable. You know, some have capacity factors of around 10%, maybe others 20%. But when we bring in nuclear energy, it provides, you know, of course, clean, provides a stable, provides huge amounts of electricity which is needed for desalination purposes. Yeah, and so moving forward, I think nuclear energy will play a big role in almost each and every industry, because we have, you know, many applications almost in each and every industry. So I think UAE are doing a good job. They're trying to diversify. The energy mix. They're into hydrogen production. They're investing a lot in nuclear as well. They have 4 reactors, 3 running, and 1 will be running next year. Yeah, so UAE is a good example of where they have good energy sources, but they're still trying to go to nuclear because they understand it's a long-term goal. Yeah, so I think that pretty much does it.
You can provide an answer that it's beyond electricity, an
Yeah.
innovation that you see in 10 years.
Yeah, going forward, we are going to see a lot of innovations in the nuclear industry. We've already started seeing proposals of cars that are going to be powered by nuclear batteries, and we've also seen attempts in order to power space stations using nuclear energy, even also spacecrafts and what have you. And then recently I heard of an innovation, someone thinking of harnessing the excess heat in the reactor in order to
District heating?
for district heating and also for production of hydrogen. So these are some of the innovations we should be expecting going forward.
Yeah, okay. Well, with that, I just want to mention one of the applications that is on the works right now. It's on conservation. So the Rhizotopo project is investigating the use of radioisotopes in the prevention of rhino poaching. The University of Witwatersrand, in collaboration with the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organization and Colorado State University, also Rosatom and the Nuclear Energy Corporation of South Africa, is examining the possibility of injecting trace amounts of stable radioisotopes into horn of rhinos to disincentivize poaching and increase the chances of identifying and arresting smugglers. So as the project launched on May of 2021, Rosatom said, with over 10,000 radiation detection devices installed in various ports of entry across the globe, experts are confident that this project will make the transportation of horns incredibly difficult and will substantially increase the likelihood of identifying and arresting smugglers. So that's a great project. If you want to know more information, please go to www.rhizotopo.org. And with that, we're just going to go ahead and start with questions from the audience. Yes.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for moderating. My name is Ahmad. I'm an energy efficiency engineer based in Montreal, Canada. I have a first question to you regarding that public perception. You've mentioned it earlier. This is a key challenge for nuclear power. Specifically, one of that concern is regarding the nuclear waste. So what does science know about the nuclear waste and the way we're dealing with it? Obviously, we've been operating nuclear power for several years, and there are solutions. But the concern is the public perception about the impact of those solutions is for some reason not known, or there are safety concerns. So what do we know about that based on your expertise?
Anybody want to start?
Okay, talking about nuclear waste. Even though we are talking about, the panel is specifically on non-power applications, but then talking about nuclear waste, I think the public perception on nuclear waste is I don't know. People think of nuclear waste as something maybe very big. Maybe it's a liquid that we throw outside anyhow. We don't, just like other industries do. But the case is very, very different. In the case of nuclear waste, right from the time the fuel has been exhausted, there are steps we take in order to take care of those fuels. We kept them for some time for them to relax, and then it's being kept under the water for some other times. From then it is moved to the caskets. Those caskets, you keep them there, and really sometimes they say waste, but then I prefer calling them spent fuel, because when they're in the casket, there are technologies we use for us to reprocess those wastes in order to be used in different types of reactors. So when you are to reprocess them, it means you can produce other type of reactors where you can use that spent fuel in that particular reactors. Another, there are also other types of technologies that are being worked by some other countries like Finland, deep geological storages all those are ways in which we are going to take care of the waste. And it should be noted that nuclear industry is the only industries that is responsible for its wastes. Unlike other industries that allow their waste into the air, into the sea, and what have you. In our own case, we take proper care of it from the beginning to the end. We have what we call the cradle to grave approach, where if a country provides you with technology, they are responsible for everything, including the waste. So I think we are covered. The only thing is we should be able to explain or to reach out to the public and explain to them in a simple terms, just like Umar said. We shouldn't be doing the complex grammars and chemical, what have you. We should come down to their level, try as much as possible to make them understand that these things don't have the effects you are thinking. They are only maybe exaggerations and what have you. You want to add?
I would like to add that now the industry is now looking for ways to convince the public regarding this waste. I can remember, I think last year, there was a tweet of a picture that went viral on social media about a pregnant woman putting her baby close to the casket of a nuclear waste, we can say, but nuclear spent fuel, and she gave birth finally, and baby is okay. So I think the nuclear industry is now looking for ways to see how it can convince people about the less harmful nature of this waste. And to add on that again, if you see how societies are now changing, are now thinking of, okay, what will bring them economic benefits to their neighborhood. We can see that by the case of Finland, if you see, there are nuclear waste in nuclear spent fuel in one neighborhood, and now people are moving to the neighborhood because they have like almost $250,000 spared for healthcare, education, and basic amenities to benefit from. So I think the industry is now doing all it can to convince people and change the narrative.
Yeah, I would like to add also that it's all about perception, right? And what we hear in media, or my friend told me about the waste, and what we hear from word of mouth, right? I will suggest that people try to do the research first and then come with questions, because we hear multiple facts in here that a lot of people don't know. So the misinformation and disinformation that it's out there, it's alarming, at least from this side at least. But that's why we're here, and thank you for your question, by the way.
Do you think there's a gap between the science and what's being communicated to the public?
A very big one, I think.
Sorry, I didn't have the mic. So the question is, do you think there is a gap? Because obviously there is a lot of benefits for nuclear, whether for the energy transition or for other applications. And we have to move with nuclear as part of the energy transition. Agreed on that. However, do you think there is, based on what you just said, there is a gap between what science says about safety for nuclear and between what's being communicated compared with other types of energy, fossil fuels, solar, wind, etc.?
There's a very big gap, and one of the challenges nuclear industry is facing, I think, is the first impression. People say first impression matters. The first time we made use of nuclear science and technology was for war purpose. So that has stayed in the mind of people, and it's very, very hard for us to delete that. Of course, the industry is doing very well to do that. Now, when you look at organizations like IAEA, they have communications department, where communication experts, instead of the scientists, are the ones handling those departments. So with this kind of progresses, I think these people will be able to communicate very well to the communities, the benefits, and to be able to eradicate some of these misconceptions. And when you look at the nuclear advocates these days, you find out that people that are non-science inclined professionals among us, these people understood the concept, and then they embrace it, and they have joined us in the industry, and they help us in trying to explain these things to the public. So I think there's that gap, but the industry is doing very well in trying to close it and make it as little as it can be.
Yeah, just to add on it is that nuclear industry is one of the industries where we are very accountable and are very responsible for all our spent fuel. I don't know if you walk to any other industry and tell them to allocate for all their waste. I don't think they will. And we are not just sitting on that nuclear waste. We're trying to find ways in which you can get the important thing out of the nuclear waste. Countries like Russia, they're trying to. They already have a nuclear power plant that is running on a closed fuel cycle, meaning that they are taking use of the nuclear fuel material and they're using it as a fuel for another nuclear power plant. And these are things which we are currently doing in the nuclear power plant, in the nuclear power space. And moving forward, I think in the coming number of years, we'll just have a closed loop where we won't have any of this spent fuel.
Yeah, I think this is one of the issues. You see, like I said, the panel was supposed to be talking on non-power applications, applications of nuclear science beyond grids. But anytime we talk about nuclear power, we keep tilting to the power aspect. So this was what I said from the beginning. We should try as much as possible to give weight to other sectors of the application than the power action, the power sector. I'm not saying the power sector is not important. It's very, very important. In fact, it's the most important aspect of it, because some of those things we are talking about will not even run without the power. But then those things are very, very important also. Like I said, we are talking about health, agriculture, and what have you.
Yeah, one thing that I want to add is, yes, I think we all can witness the gap is getting shorter and shorter, right? Last week, 22 countries announced that tripling nuclear energy by 2050. I mean, I don't think we ever seen mentioning the word nuclear so many times as we did last week. Just the showing, the presence of nuclear this year, it's tremendous. We have like four pavilions that talk about nuclear specifically.
Yeah, there are more than 5. We have IAEA,
Exactly.
Atoms of Climate. We have Net Zero has 2. We have Nuclear for Climate, World Nuclear Organizations. IYNC had a small booth there, Atomic Generation, and a lot of them.
Yeah, I
Even
think we all
respective
witnessed
countries,
that.
for example, Korea, hydro and nuclear, they're talking about their plans in future for nuclear.
And they talk about desalination. They talk about district heating. If you approach them, they will tell you all those extra beyond energy applications that we can see.
Yeah, I think by the COP24, during the time of COP24, I think there are only 4 advocates of nuclear energy, nuclear at that time. But look at this year, we are COP28, and I think from the net zero only, I think we have more than 60. From M4C, Nuclear for Climate, we have almost 100. And so you see the narrative keeps changing. And I think nuclear is going to get it better and better and better.
Any other questions? You want to ask a question? Oh, after him.
So if I can make a comment, I think you put your finger on one of the things we need to do to communicate, and that is most of us are engineers and scientists, so we like graphs with numbers and, very factual things, and we draw our conclusions from the facts. But a lot of people draw their conclusions from images, and that's where what you referred to, the image of our pregnant colleague up against the nuclear waste storage cask, was especially compelling and provocative, because it makes people think, oh, wait a minute, this isn't some expert trying to convince me of something. This is something that's real life, tangible, that I can understand. So
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have much of a background on this. I just want to know more. So let's say in terms of an entire country, would it be possible to fully use nuclear power solely with nothing else? Like no other different source of energy?
Yeah, I can say yes, because nuclear is a base load and it can provide power 24/7. But you must have some time where you will have to, let's say the fuel, has reduces power, so you need to change the fuel. So that gap, you don't want a situation where in your country to say that this industry has stopped working for like 2 days. I think that will make your economic situation not bad, but at least it will drop. Yeah. So I think nuclear is base load. It can be used as a base load source of energy, but can be complemented with other sources, other clean energy sources. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing is we are not calling for phasing out of all other sources of energy. You get? Like I usually said, the population is there. Africa has about 1.5 billion people, with about 600 million people not having access to electricity. We have other parts of the globe from Asia that also need electricity. So the market is there for everyone to come out and play. So I'm not saying that a particular country must work with nuclear energy only. We need to diversify our sources of energy, and I think it's a very good thing if we can include nuclear energy, probably with some renewables, and even other sources of clean energy. The main goal is to curb carbon emission so as to meet our target for net zero. So we can do it all together. In fact, together is better.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we engineers and scientists, we don't go everything 100% or everything 0%, right?
Definitely.
Plus, we want to be inclusive, and we want the diversity that any source of energy can provide. Some countries might not be great for nuclear or solar or wind or hydro. So there's a lot of factors that will be involved to determine what's good for each one of us. All we want is the energy and clean energy, which is more important.
I like the fact that you emphasized on collaborating together, using different sources and focusing on one only. I feel like when we're distributing our focus, that makes it more accessible for everybody in terms of like not having too much demand on something, and whereas something else is just left out when we can make use of everything instead.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question. Any more questions?
Just one note. I know this panel is supposed to be talking about nuclear beyond energy, and I think nuclear, just science, energy, and technology just doesn't get enough credit for the applications in medicine, agriculture, security, and even one that another one is in criminal investigation, and then space as well. When I was touring the nuclear research reactor in Jamaica, the only one that's in the Caribbean, they were able to use that nuclear reactor to be able to pinpoint where some stolen beach sand would have been relocated through neutron activation analysis. And so there's a wide range of applications beyond just energy that we use every day. It's not innovation that we're going to see in 10 years or 5. It's happening, and it's been happening, and these are applications that we need to bring to the light more than we currently do.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. Well, thank you. Please help me say hi, say bye to our panelists. Thank you for your time. Thank you all of you for being here.